In the college application process, I only got accepted into one safety school and one read school. Now, I can say for probably certainty that a lot of people are like me and they didn't get into like a huge array of colleges like you see in a lot of college decision reactions. Today in this video, I will cover the national average excellent student stats, and I will talk about my story, and then I will talk about how you can make sure you get into at least one school, if not more, because I just want to say how paranoid college decision week has made me. Because it's not as if the colleges who accept you can't rescind their decision. Like, they can rescind their decision at any time. And also, it's not impossible for the colleges to make a mistake and accidentally send you an acceptance letter. So I was just really hoping that was not the case. On the 13th of this month, actually, they sent me an email saying, oh, there's the update to your application. And I'm just like, there's an update to my app. What did I do? Did I do something wrong? And then it was just my financial aid, because I requested financial aid for the health insurance. It's fine. So now to reveal what the average excellence stat is for those students who are applying to top 10 or Ivy League schools. Number one, your activity list essentially says everything about you. So all of the things that make you different is your activity list. Everything else kind of, but let's talk about activity list first. So number one, you do some kind of music. Number two, some kind of sports or martial arts. Number three, random activities that don't have to do with anything on your application. For example, you were like student co-president, or you were like the marching band team leader. Is that what it's called? First chair of marching band. You have a GPA of 3.8 to 4.0, and you have a 1520 ACT, 34 ACT plus. You have at least 8 AP subjects with 4 plus on all of the subjects. And just to wrap it up, I just want to note everything that I just mentioned. You have competed in a national, state, or international, and you've ranked in them. And for example, ICEF now is a very common thing. A lot of people use ICEF to apply to colleges, but there are some things you can't change, and there are some things you can change. So if you're a senior and you're watching this, you obviously can't change your activity list. Maybe you can change your standardized test scores. But at the end of the day, I'm going to tell you how I did my process, so that maybe it can help you in planning how you can do the college application process. So everything started in May, in my rising senior year, where I just looked at everything, just kind of put everything into my brain. I started searching up guides, I started searching up YouTube videos, everything, just to try to get a head start on this. May, June, July, August. I spent 3 months doing that. I know it's incredibly inefficient, but I started to write essays in August, actual official essays, because prior then I was doing some rough drafts of my Common App main essay, but I was also doing some practice essays just to kind of get into the flow. In August, I started writing those essays, watching those college vlogs, trying to absorb as much information as I can. What I tried to do when watching those vlogs was I tried to find those specific small things that only students in that school will know about, or the admissions officers will know about, because if you include that, then you would be like, oh man, I'm so invested into this school that I know about this. Even though you just watched like a 10-minute video, they won't know that. Try to make yourself feel like an insider, like you're already a student there who's writing about the pros about the school. If you haven't started though, please start now. You don't know how much time it takes. Like, you right now, you will underestimate how long it takes, because if you apply to a lot of schools, it's going to be a lot of essays. And if you're not applying to a lot of schools, like I would say 5 schools is not a lot of schools, then you don't have to panic as much. You can kind of relax. But as the title of this video, I got into 1 out of 16 schools. But I'm saying don't underestimate this, because usually for me it takes around 1 to 2 days just brainstorming, thinking of things, typing on a doc, deleting them, watching more YouTube videos, and cycle repeats. The next day I would finally write 1 essay, 1 supplemental essay, and then I would move on. And on the 3rd day I would binge the rest of the supplementals. I'm not sure why I did that. I'm not sure why I paced myself like that, but that is what happened. So I'm just telling you that you will feel like binging the essays sometimes, and you will feel like you don't want to write the essay at all for weeks at end. So please just start them early, because it will be a pain, especially if you're trying to balance them with standardized ACT, SATs, AP tests. There's no AP tests in December, so just SATs and APs. November comes, binging college videos. I don't know why. December, end of December comes, I submitted all my college applications. Keep in mind that the process of putting those essays into the college like common app portal is also very stressful and takes a lot of time as well. So make sure you allot at least 1 to 2 days doing that. Portals like MIT will have extremely long paragraphs of information that you need to put. Well, not paragraphs, but there's a lot of information. I think it took me like a whole morning to just type in all the information for that. I also sent music portfolios because that is something you can actually do. You can submit music portfolios, you can submit like composition, I guess. I think there's other ones. Some schools have like large category of stuff you can send. How can you prevent this situation of only getting accepted into one of your reach schools and one of your scholarships from happening? The scholarship thing I'm not gonna talk about today, but the first part. Number 1, definitely apply to non-binding early decisions, because number 1, it will help you practice for your essays. Number 2, it's non-binding, and I've heard rumors that your financial aid will decrease, but from all my friends that I've seen, this is not the case. Like if you apply early, you'll still get the same amount of financial aid. So please just apply early with non-binding. Please just apply to those. If you're feeling gutsy enough, then apply to those that have binding. I mean, it's just a shot, right? You can take a shot. But I can say that because there's less people applying to early action, there's also a greater chance of you getting in, since the percentage of you getting accepted as an early action applicant is much greater than being accepted as a regular applicant. Well, to respond to the actual question of how to prevent the situation from happening, you can't really. So you see, all you can do is to apply to more schools. Apply to more schools around the T20 or under that range, because the simple fact is just we are not good enough. You know, if we didn't have resources, we can't be as good as we could be, but it is what it is, and you can only work with what you have. But as you heard when I explained that average excellence stats, that is a lot of people, and a lot of people have that stat. Therefore, when they're choosing you guys, they only will choose a certain few. Even if there's multiple people who are qualified, you are probably not as good as someone else who has more resources. So again, this is why I'm saying you should apply to a lot of schools, a lot of schools. I applied to 17. I regret not applying to more. Please apply to more schools. Again, it's not a lottery, it's an investment. And I just want to preface that getting into a good college only means that your first job will be easier to find. After that's just work experience. So if you didn't get into your dream school, that doesn't matter. Get a job. Get a job that is in your major, so you have more years of experiences, and there you can top whoever is your competitor. I also want to note that it's not impossible for your ethnicity or your legacy to be considered, but let bygones be bygones. You can't control that. Next, what you can control is whether or not you reuse essays, because let me tell you this, if you reuse essays, they can tell. I read my essays that I reused, and I can tell that it doesn't quite match the prompt, and that is grounds for not accepting you. It's just that simple. Like if you reuse your essays, they can tell you reused your essays. I'm guessing this is why I got denied from U Chicago, because I was on the wait list, but then they denied me. This is probably why. If the average excellent person that I mentioned before sounds like you, the only thing that you can do right now is to shape your application, shape your activity list, so it's somewhat of like a pitchfork or a multi-pronged application. Essentially, that means you're good in 2 to 3 fields, and you kind of try to market yourself as being a well-rounded but excellent person. You're an excellent, well-rounded person, and apply to Northwestern, because everywhere else the schools rejected me. Northwestern's the only one who accepted me, so you have a better chance there. I'm guessing they deleted their admission files, so when I get to campus I can't read it, unfortunately. So the next tip is to arbitrarily apply to some schools, because I didn't know about Northwestern until I started my college application process. I didn't even know Northwestern existed. Sorry, Northwest. But you need to know there's a cost-benefit relationship in each school that you pick. Like, for example, Northwestern is a very low-cost, high-benefit college that you can apply to, because there's only one essay. That means you don't need to spend as much time on the application as you need to do, for example, Columbia, which it has like 15. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm probably wrong. So essentially, you need to add the colleges that have the fewer essays, but apply to more colleges. That way you have a better chance of getting to one of your reach schools. Broaden your horizons. You know, don't just apply. If you want to try to apply to reach schools, apply to many reach schools. If you just want to arbitrarily apply to a few, like, in my opinion, save your money. There's no point in doing that. Then you might be wondering, what do T20 schools want if they don't want the average excellent kid? Well, number one, they want all the above that I mentioned. Number two, you need to be a professional. So you need to have a published research paper, or you're in a top quartile in, like, let's say music, famous competitions like the Van Cliburn. Let's say you got third place. Like, whoa, they're gonna like you. They're gonna love you so much. Or for example, AMC ICPC for coding. Not gonna lie, I've never heard of it until now, and I applied as a computer science major to Northwestern. This is probably why I got rejected from every other school. But I just want to point out to everyone else who isn't a senior right now, and you can add some things to your activity list, you need to apply to competitions that are, number one, well known, and number two, competitive, and number three, you need to win some type of competition in there. If you're just a finalist in like ICEF, it doesn't mean anything nowadays. You see, these schools want professionals. They want people who are really, really good in their fields. The only type of people they're looking for is this kind of analytic type person where you can analyze things, you can see things in different contexts. They don't care about creativity. I promise you they do not, because that is just not a focus that they have, and it's a little bit too risky. You can't really quantifiably determine how creative a person is. And you've heard of the phrase, the ACT or SAT is only about how good you can take the test. And it's not an accurate representation of what life is in adulthood, but that's the game that you have to play in order to get into the school that you want to get into. I just want to say again, please expand your horizons. Look at different schools, because when you look at different schools, you can find that, oh, this school is actually pretty nice. Like Northwestern, again, sorry, this isn't even a school that I got into. So. But like, for example, I applied to Northwestern because it's like, oh, it looks like a pretty school. It'd be pretty nice to get into, and it's only a supplemental essay. Might as well apply to it. And look, that's the only school that I got into. I probably spent the least amount of time on Northwestern because I didn't even need to submit a music portfolio. I couldn't submit a music portfolio. I didn't get an interview. I got an interview for like every other Ivy school except for like Harvard. Yeah. As long as you try to organize your stats as being elite in multiple different areas and you apply to Northwestern, you have a shot of getting in. Also U Chicago and Johns Hopkins because they waitlisted me. But that would be it for this video today. Thank you so much for watching. Don't subscribe. I will see you in the next video. Bye.